Well, it's my great pleasure to be here today with an expert wine taster, a sommelier. It's JJ from Paradox Wines.
Well, Jason, thank you very much for the introduction, and it's absolutely a privilege for us to be part of such a tremendous upcoming event. And I'm delighted with your choice and selection, which obviously we're going to be discovering together today. And the hallmark of those wines is that you will find a lot of personality, a lot of charisma, basically screaming out of the bottle, and hopefully a lot of enjoyment for the end consumer.
When you taste the wines, how do you approach it? You breathe in, you smell the aroma initially, but then do you swirl the wine around in your mouth?
Well, basically it's a process which is very simple, but most of it is actually done on the nose. And the idea is to obviously release the aromas, because sometimes the wines are so cold that they're too sharp.
So we're releasing the molecules into the air for the nose.
Yeah. And you get some of the interesting characters and transparency of the varietal itself. And then from there, I tend to suggest is about one deep smell. And then, as you will know, it takes roughly about 7 seconds for the smell to register up to the olfactory bulb. And then the olfactory bulb will tell you what have you smelled that before and what is it like. And after that, so this is about 80% of any form of wine tasting. And what you'll find after that, you take a good mouthfeel. And the noise there is very much trying to aerate the sensation. And once again, when you're tasting wines, there is only 6 tactile sensations, things that you can taste. And what you're really going to be looking for there is basically either the sweetness, the acidity, the dryness of the wine, and if there's any wood or barrel, you're going to find some tannin structure.
So could you explain what are lees? We hear about the wine being developed on lees or being left on lees for a few years. What are lees?
So the lees are basically the dead yeast cells. So you need, in order to ferment wines, you need to have yeast, of course, and sugar. And then what you tend to do is, depending on the style of the wines you want to produce, the dead yeast cells will refer to as lees, will provide that different texture, and that slightly, sometimes it's caramelized, sometimes it's honey, sometimes it's it will be that bread or pastry like.
Yeah, pastry, that's a good description. Some maybe a bit of brioche or croissant, or as you said before, the pastry layers. Yeah, it's lovely. I'm curious to know, is there an ideal sort of place or time or situation in which we should be enjoying wine? Should we just drink them alone? Should we mix it with food and company? What do you do?
All of the above. No, unfortunately, I think for me, wine is part of an environment where I would always associate wine with food, and it's part of that culture. And you tend to find that wines will change anyhow with the food that you're serving with. And also, I tend to believe that what's a great accompaniment to wines is also the glassware. Making sure that you have the right glassware. A lot of people will have great wines, and then you're looking at a glass that is probably substandard, where if you're investing in a really good glass, it will actually enhance your experience.
What about the shape of the glass? Because I notice wine glasses, particularly nice wine glasses, they have that inward curvature. Is there some significance to that?
Definitely. So shape of the glass will got a huge impact on the way you will actually smell and taste the wines. So, there's been a lot of studies specifically with the likes of Riedel glassware, where the impact of the shape and the size of the glassware as well will have a direct interactions in regards to how you're feeling and recepting that wines. But the other aspect for me is probably just making sure you have a great company, of course, and also in terms of the environment, somewhere slightly cooler. I think, when you're drinking wines and it's 45 degrees outside and you're eating something, it's probably not as enjoyable, whereas you're probably in an environment around 25 to 28 degrees.
That's the perfect temperature. And we know that our experience of taste, experience of flavour changes with the temperature of what we're eating and the ambient temperature. So that makes a lot of sense. Well, it's been an absolutely wonderful experience, and I think in Australia we're very spoiled. We have a lot of local wineries, we drink a lot of local Australian wine, and maybe we don't so often get a chance to taste wines from other countries, other regions, and you've really described to us very nicely the thinking that goes into the making of these wines, the distinction that comes from the individual regions, the climate, the soil, all of those things, and it's really enhanced my experience and actually motivated me to maybe start drinking some more French wine. So thank you very much.
Pleasure, thank you very much, Jason. Looking forward to the evening. Thank you. Cheers.